Hey everyone, and welcome back for another episode of Might I Add, where we talk all things UCF sports. Today, we'll be talking about the UCF football team's dominant performance against Temple, the volleyball team's big weekend, and preview some upcoming matchups. And joining me today to help us sort through everything is up-and-coming HCF star Matison Little. Madison, how's it going?
It's going good. I'm excited to be here today.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one. So let's start things off with some football. The UCF football team went up to Philadelphia, and they played Temple in the cold rain. So the Knights start off with their typical road performance. In the first half, they're winning 28-21 going into halftime. However, the second half was a different story. UCF pummeled Temple with 35 unanswered points in the second half to win 63-21. So Madison, what happened in that second half?
I think that we started off decent. Not our best, but we started off, and once Temple got that first touchdown, our offense kind of stepped it up and started to play explosively, and then our defense followed shortly after in the second half. So our defense, I think, played a key part in the second half. They didn't let anything happen from Temple, and our offense just was more complete. They played faster. Dylan was throwing the ball. People were running. I just think everything was more explosive. We played faster. And I just think when we play that fast, it's hard for Temple's defense to stop us.
And you're absolutely right. That defense played a huge part. They only gave up 13 total yards to Temple in the second half. Not points, yards. So the defense stepped up huge. And the UCF fast offense was also huge. And they were led by Otis Anderson's career-high 205 rushing yards and a touchdown. So how was Otis able to get through that physical Temple defense?
Well, he got 200 yards compared to his last game, which he got 80. I think he looked more confident on the field, and I think the players around him really benefited him and allowed him to just get through the defense. I think that the speed of our game is just too fast for some teams and most teams, and he took advantage of that, and he took any opportunity he had, and he got through. And I think that just allowed him to get all those yards. It was just him this game. I mean, we always have someone that shines on our offense, and it was him this game. So.
And that's an interesting point to notice because the offense is very deep, and we'll get to that in a couple of minutes here. But defensively, let's talk about Aaron Robinson. He picked off Temple quarterback Anthony Russo twice in the second half. So Madison, let's just talk a little bit about Aaron Robinson's big game and his takeaways.
He got 2 interceptions. I mean, both interceptions he got resulted in touchdowns, and I think that was the difference between, like, we were ahead 1 touchdown and then we were ahead 3. Like, it's a big, like, point. Like, he played a key role in our being ahead so many touchdowns, and I think that changed the whole game. Had Temple had the ball, it could have been a completely different football game, and he just came in at the right moments and allowed us to get touchdowns, and that's really important. So happy he got that. Like, good to see him shine at the game. So good for him.
And it was a big game. It's always great to see a player like Robinson finally get some great things to happen to him. I know he had that really tough injury last season, but UCF is going to get to follow up their performance with a home game against Houston for the annual Space Game. Now, before we get to that, let's talk about Houston's just season in general. It's been a kind of a disappointing season for Houston. So what is UCF going to have to do to prevent Houston from getting that big upset win?
I think that if we play like we did at Temple, just very fast, that they're going to, like, they don't really have a chance. I mean, if we play like we did at Temple, we're going to, like, their defense won't be able to catch up to us. And I just think that when we are explosive and we play complete and everything just lines up how it did for Temple, that Houston, based on their season, just won't get that. I don't think they will.
So Houston this season has given up 31 points per game, which is not good. You don't win a whole lot of football games doing that. So what is UCF going to have to do to exploit that Houston defense?
They've given up 31 points, and for the most part, we've averaged at least 30 points a game. So I think that when you kind of look at that, like, they give up 30 points a game, we get more than 30 points a game. So that's just kind of, you add those together and we're going to get a lot of points. And I just think that if our offense plays hard and Dylan throws the ball, Mac runs the ball a little, throws the ball, I think that we'll just get yards. And I just think it'll all line up for us. I think that Houston doesn't really have a chance, in my opinion.
So then what would UCF's key to this game be?
I think completion. I think that the thing that usually kills us is when we don't complete. Like, we'll throw a ball and we'll just get a lot of, like, no turnovers. Like, we need to focus on preventing turnovers and just going for the end zone. I mean, we just need to get in the end zone. I think that Dylan Gabriel needs to throw the ball more than he runs it, because we all know that he's a better thrower, I think, in my opinion. So I think he needs to throw the ball, and we just need to get down the field, and I think we'll be okay.
So I promised you guys something a couple minutes ago here. Let's talk about UCF's depth. And the depth took a little bit of a hit these past couple of weeks, and especially at the running back position. Greg McCrae gets injured against, can't think of it, East Carolina. Greg McCrae gets injured. Now we go to Temple. Adrian Killings gets injured. So how does UCF overcome that, not lack of success and lack of talent, but just that hit to their depth?
I think we've heard it a lot from different pressers and different different players, that they need the next man up mentality. The next man needs to be training hard in practice. He needs to be confident when he goes in the game and just really focus on the game and not what happened in the past. So, like, he needs to focus on what he's going to do rather than what he's not going to do that the other players like Killens or McCrae could do. So I think next man up mentality is what we need.
So real quickly, score prediction for this game.
I don't know. It depends. Probably a lot to a little.
A lot to a little. So you don't think Houston gets a whole lot going offensively?
I don't think so.
Don't think so. So, okay. So you heard it here then, guys. It's going to be a lot to a little. Should be a really nice win. Route for UCF. Get back on track. Stay in pace with Cincinnati to try and win that AAC East race. So, like the UCF football team, let's get into volleyball. They also had a big weekend. They hosted two really tough teams in Houston and Tulane. Both elite defenses, and both teams are in the top half of the AAC standings. So UCF brought the intensity, however, and they picked up both major conference wins. So Madison, how important was this weekend for the Knights?
I think that this past weekend was really important. Getting those wins just put us one step closer to where we want to be, and that's winning the conference championship. And I think that these wins kind of just set the tone for how we're going to finish the season, and that was big.
And it's not easy to be able to play those kinds of teams, very strong defenses. And against Houston, UCF struggled fairly early, and they really did not have any sort of momentum early in this game. So how is UCF able to turn that around and end up sweeping the leading team in the AAC West Division?
I think it's just getting the kills, getting points on the board, and we did a good job with that. We had less errors and more points, and when you add it up, that's just really what the game's about. You need to get points, and you need to win the early matches so you can get the set.
And then, obviously, on Sunday, UCF got another tough defensive test in Tulane, who's perhaps a better defense than Houston, maybe the second best defense in the conference, only behind UCF. How was UCF able to outlast Tulane in that game?
I think, again, we had a lot of blocks. Our defensive play was good, and just preventing them from getting points and then turning around and getting our points on the board was big part of that. And I just think that our team as a whole has been doing really well this season with just getting the ball on the floor on the other side of the net and just getting those points up on the board, especially earlier in the match. So the first two sets particularly, we won both in each match this weekend. We won the first two sets, which is key, I think.
And it is huge to be able to win those first two sets, especially when you're playing at home. You want to stomp that confidence, allow the opposing team to have no momentum. And UCF did that, and it resulted in two big wins. Now this week, UCF is going to be able to take on USF on Friday and SMU on the road on Sunday. UCF won the previous matchup in the War on I-4 this season in Tampa 3-1. And USF comes into Orlando on a current 9-game losing streak. So Madison, I'm going to be real with you. Does USF have any shot of winning this game?
I'm not going to say they don't have any shot because they're at the game. So yes, that automatically gives them a chance to win. But is it realistic? I do not think so. I think that we are overall a better team. We have our home wins are by far greater than their on the road wins. So I just think that we have that advantage, and that will play a big role in the game.
And USF has lost 9 consecutive conference games at that, putting them in last place in the American. So we'll see how interesting this game comes into play with UCF leading the American, USF in the bottom. We'll see if there's any chance of an upset here. 2 very different styles and very different seasons. But then after UCF will then take on SMU in Dallas on Sunday. And the Mustangs are currently sitting in second place in the AAC West Division. SMU owns a very balanced team and sits at second in the conference in both kills and opponent hitting percentage. So Madison, how is UCF going to be able to avoid an upset here and to be able to carry that momentum that they've been able to create?
I think that we need to stay confident. We're on the road. We've been doing decent on the road, not bad. Obviously, we do better at home, but I think that if we carry that confidence to that game, it'll benefit us a lot, and we just need to focus on the game, not where we're playing, and I think that we'll be okay.
So there's a lot of emphasis, and I know coaches typically preach road games. You don't have as many distractions.
Yes.
It's easier, quote unquote, to play on the road. Is this true for this volleyball team? Because they've seemed to look good at home and on the road this season.
If you look at the numbers, I think we're 9-1 at home, and then 5-3 on the road. So it's pretty. Our on the road percentage, I guess, is kind of almost like 50. It's like 75-25 in my opinion. So I think that we do good on the road, but we do better at home, and so we just need to carry that, especially going against these tough teams. I just think we need to focus on the game and be confident when we go in.
And confidence is going to be key because this is a tough matchup against SMU. And speaking of tough matchups, since losing to Cincinnati early in the conference season, UCF has looked near unstoppable, winning 7 straight games. And to add to that, they only have 2 more games where they play teams with winning conference records. So how realistic, I think it's time to ask at this point in the season, how realistic are UCF's chances of winning the conference?
I think they're realistic. I mean, we're second in the East, so we're about to play second in the West, so I think the results of this game will tell, like really give us a better understanding of where we are in the conference. And I think it's realistic. If we play like we've been playing, then I think we have a chance.
And of course, very realistic chances. Just 6 games left in the season. The Knights do get another shot at Cincinnati at home in a couple weeks, and that's going to be a huge matchup. All right, guys, Knights fans, get ready, because after a few slower weeks of home sporting events, the action finally picks back up again this weekend. The football team will return to host Houston on Saturday. The UCF volleyball team is going to host USF on Friday before they travel to SMU on Sunday. The men's soccer team is going to return to action and play Stetson at home on Tuesday and host Memphis on Friday in a match that could very well decide who wins the AAC regular season. And finally, the women's soccer team is going to take on USF at home in their season finale on Thursday. Madison, I appreciate you being here for your HTF debut. Hope you had a good time.
I did, thank you.
And as always, appreciate your takes. They've been great. Glad having you on the show. And thank you to everyone at home watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube page, and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Hitting the Field. I'm Kyle Partain, she's Matison Little, and we'll catch you next week on Might I Add.